I don't know, was it for purpose, but we here combined three countries that had some influence. Yeah, definitely from Soviet Union and Soviet system, educational system, and three countries from Asian part of the world. So we
Well,
have this.
I didn't know about China. I just heard it from my colleague.
Okay. So guys, it's 12 minutes. I guess we should start. There's not so much time. So hello everyone. My name is Saule Bekova. I'm research fellow at Institute of Education and High School of Economics, and I'm really glad to see you all. Not so many, but as we say in Russia, there are not so many of us, but we're all like heroes and so on. So really glad to hear you and see you all in our session devoted to the quality of education, but mostly I think to the transformation of higher education system and like recent trends like related to ratings or availability of education or like this transformation of student role and so on. So I think that we have these three presenters. Shuha Liu from China, and she will tell us about changing changing availability of higher education system in China. And somebody has this, I don't know, I hear this noise and I don't know where is it from. So
let me try to mute myself.
Okay, yeah. So if you don't want to say anything right now, so please mute your mic. And then according to the program, yeah, I stick to the program. Then we have Anna Finove Saule from Budapest University, and she will say about the research university in Kazakhstan, how it was changed and or its transformation was shaped by this rating system, this global trend, and I think we all can relate to this issue, like in Russia and worldwide. And then we had Hamid Khan from University of Central Asia, and he will tell us about this changing role of student in quality assurance, and he will talk about this university in Kyrgyzstan, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So there will be three brilliant stories, and I don't want to take stage no longer. So I'm giving the floor to the first presenter. Each of you will have like 15 minutes, and then you will please feel free to discuss and ask questions after that, like 10-15 minutes for that, and then the next presenter. So pretty easy, and I will say when it's 5 minutes left, I will tell you, I will write you in a message. So please, Shuha, and her presentation. I'm muting myself. Please unmute your mic. Yeah, we don't hear you. And please, can you open your presentation on full screen mode? Yeah, thanks. And the mic. Shuha, we don't hear you. Yeah, please unmute yourself. No. Guys, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I come from I'm sorry, maybe. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Shuhua Liu. I come from College of Education, Zhejiang University, China. My topic is changes in the affordability of a four-year public education in China during massification. I did this research with my master students, and we published this research on the Journal of Asia Pacific Education Review. And now I will tell the introduction, the background. I'm sorry here. Maybe the tuition from the worldwide perspective, as higher education expanded, its costs have shifted on a large scale from the government to students and their families. This June students said these words, and as a result, the public's concern about the affordability of higher education has intensified. What happened about this in China? And here we refer affordability as the ability of residents to pay a 4-year public higher education tuition for personal or family needs out household consumption expenditures have been deducted. And it is determined by 2 factors, the tuition standard and the residents' ability to pay. For a long time, higher education was accepted to be another aspect of the public sector. It's health care, and its cost was supposed to be borne by the government. In 1998, the Chinese government officially launched its higher education massification strategy, which in the next 20 years has progressed rapidly with the dramatic expansion of the enrollment scale. In 2002, China officially entered into the stage of massification, and last year we achieved universalization, higher education universalization. To relieve the pressure from the rising cost of colleges and universities, China started to charge tuition in 1997. And this study aims to answer the following questions. What's the overall trend of 4-year public higher education affordability in China in these 2 decades? And how has the gap changed in terms of residents' ability to pay tuition between urban and rural families, different regions, and different income groups? And there are 4 types of tuition financial aid relations. There is high tuition, high aid. The second is high tuition, low aid. And third is low tuition, high aid. Fourth is low tuition and low aid. Which type does China fall under? Here we use examine a wide range of data from the National Bureau of Statistics and adopts a series of measurement indicators, including college tuition as a percentage of per capita GDP, college tuition as a percentage of per capita disposable income, college tuition as a percentage of total disposable household income, and college tuition as percentage of annual family savings, government financial aid as a percentage of college tuition. And using these indicators, we have the following findings. First is from average tuition as a percentage of per capita GDP and per capita disposable income. The percentage of tuition to per capita GDP show an increasing trend followed by a decline. First, it's an increase, then a decline. From 1998 to 2002, the proportion of tuition in per capita disposable income increased, and increased from 62 to 90, and fell to 19% in 2016. And the second finding is urban and rural families' ability to pay for higher education varies greatly. The financial ability of urban residents is higher than that of rural residents generally. From the starting point to 2007, the average tuition accounted for more than 100% of rural residents' per capita disposable income, over exceeding their financial capability. And the third finding is about the proportion of average tuition in residents' per capita disposable, we divided the population, we selected a province or city and by each region, that is Shanghai, Heilongjiang, Henan, and Guizhou. And we found that the gap in financial capability among urban residents in these 4 places narrowed from these 2 decades. And in 2003, higher education tuition completely exceeded rural residents' ability to pay in Guizhou, Henan, and Heilongjiang. After that point, the number dropped and the gap narrowed. And the 4th finding, the proportion of every tuition in households per capita disposable income, according to income quintile, we divided the population into 5 groups by income: low income, lower middle income, up middle income, and high income. Among urban residents, all groups except low-income households can strongly afford higher education tuition. From 2000 to 2006, the proportion of tuition in the per capita annual income of lower-income urban households was higher than 100%. Compared with urban residents, rural people have a different ability to pay for tuition. Only the top 20% of rural residents and rural high-income households can sufficiently pay tuition. Rural low-income households suffer from a seriously compromised ability to afford a quality tuition. The 5th finding, quality tuition as percentage of family savings. While higher education was less affordable for residents from 2008 to 2002, it has since become affordable. Currently, college tuition counts for only half of the rural family savings, which is still a heavy financial burden for rural residents. And the 6th finding is the government financial aid is a percentage of tuition as a percentage tuition. During massification process, the higher education transitioned from high tuition low financial aid to low tuition high financial aid. And the conclusion is after research, we did a conclusion. 2006 is a turning point. From the starting point to 2006, this is the period of high tuition, low aid. After that, it turned to low tuition, high aid. First, we did the following conclusions. During the massification process, Chinese public higher education affordability saw a rapid decline and then a continuous increase. And second, since 1998, the gap in public higher education affordability between urban and rural areas, regions, and income groups has widened rapidly in the early years, but generally narrowed in the following years. Because after 2006, the Chinese government created policies to control tuition prices and adopted a preferential policy toward rural, remote, poor, and unrepresented groups. The third conclusion is Chinese education underwent rapid transformation from high tuition low aid to low tuition high aid. In the early years, the government had an inadequate family income statistics and a property registration system. and experienced challenges in implementing the financial aid system. But the high tuition, low aid pattern led to education inequity. So in order to ensure the children for poor families were excluded from the higher education system because of financial disadvantages, the Chinese government made equity in education as core priority in policy making, and it took a series of positive measures. So it gradually formed a student financial support system, and the amount of financial aid has substantially risen over the years. That's the old conclusions. Thank you.
Thank you, Shuha. Thank you for your presentation. Guys, please, do you have some questions or, I don't know, something you want to clarify? Please raise your hand or just unmute your mic and ask the question. Actually, I have a few questions, but they are more about the context because we don't know much about Chinese education, Chinese higher education system. And I want to ask, you said that Chinese government introduced this tuition system in 1997. Yes. But what was before? Was it free for everybody who wanted to go to universities, or what was it like before the 1997?
Before that, I say as maybe as USSR, we regard higher education as a public sector, and the fees was borne by the governments. So students went to the universities without paying tuition.
Okay, was it this like shift from like free, like tuition free system to this system with tuition, and as I understood, pretty high tuition fee? Was it shocking? Like, what was the reaction of the population, if it was any?
What is the motivation to adopt the tuition charging?
No, right? No. What was the reaction of students, their parents, the families when they moved from this free tuition free system to this like system with high tuition fee? Was it shocking or like cause it like decreased of number of students, or I don't know, what was the effect of this?
In the following years, in 1998, China initiated the stage of massification. It means that scale of enrollment expanded dramatically. So the government couldn't bear all the fees of higher education. It had to shift it to the students and families. So at first, the families and students were not maybe they didn't like to go to universities to pay for higher education. At first, the fee was very low, but from that to 2006, the fee rose dramatically, and it posed a significant burden to most families in China. So at that time, there's anxiety in China for this heavy burden. After that, maybe it led to education equity, and Chinese government had to control the tuition pricing and make it rise very slowly. So, but the savings of the residents rose slowly and slowly as Chinese economic went better. So for the majority of the families, they can afford the tuition. They don't think it's a burden. But for the lower quantile of rural residents, that they are also a burden. And but there's a system of aid, financial aid for them. Their children can go to university with the help of financial aid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And I cannot ask about the migration of, because China is the huge, international provider of students for many, many countries, like Australia, UK, US. And does the students represent the highest group of the, on the income scale, who? I guess the question is, who is more interested in getting education, higher education in China? Do you even get this students from highest quintile on the income scale to study in China, or they mostly go abroad? If you have this information, I don't know, I'm just guessing.
Yes, we have a large scale of population in the level of middle income. About that, the families, they have a diversified choice. Maybe they choose to study at home in China with low tuition. Maybe they think to go abroad is a better choice. Maybe they choose USA, England as their destination, and they can send the children to go abroad and pay a large amount of money. So you know, for this period, most family have just one child. So they have they can afford the fees the fees for the children's studying abroad.
Okay.
So
okay.
they are different choice.
Okay. Thank you, Shua. Does anybody in the audience have questions about this?
I have a question. May I ask?
Yeah, please, of course.
Thank you. Do you hear me well?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. My name is Svetlana Shendarova. I present the Tampere University, Finland. And my question is related to the government control of the tuition fees, of pricing. How the Chinese government or regional governments also, how do they control tuition fees, and how the aid is organized in China? Is this aid prioritized in accordance with the rural or urban residents, or in accordance with the disposable income, or what is the principle? So what is the mechanism of the control of tuition fee, and how the aid is organized? Thank you.
You know, we have the unified thank you for your question. We have a unified tuition pricing, not only for the rural residents, but also for the urban residents. You know, I work in Zhejiang University. I know about the fee, the tuition in this university. Students pay for just 8,000 yuan renminbi for 1 year. For one academic year. Mm-hmm. It's not a burden for the majority of the population. And I think how does the Chinese government control the tuition pricing? They made the tuition very slow every province and every province had their own pricing system, and they should report to the central government. They couldn't make the tuition go upward, and the public can check this process. But now there are some schools, they think the tuition is too low. With comparison with the standard of the economic development and the level of economic of savings of the residents, and they think it's better to make the tuition higher, not at this level. Can I answer this question? I don't know.
Yes, thank you. Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shua, for your answers and for the presentation. Thank you. And our next presenter is Saule. We have the same
yes,
name.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Saule from Budapest University, please. Yeah.
Just a moment. I having an unexpected problem with my computer, which I haven't had in many months.
Okay.
So
we can switch to Hamid if you need time.
You don't mind, I would like to
yeah, of course,
and then reload my computer.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Of course. Hamid, are you ready to help Saule? Yeah, okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks. So please welcome Hamid Khan from University of Central Asia. Yeah.
Hello. So the usual checks at the beginning, so you can hear me, I hope, and you can see my screen as well. Okay, so I hope everything goes well with my presentation. I can change my slides and everything, so that's keeping my fingers crossed. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here and getting connected. As you can see, the title of my presentation is Understanding Student Participatory Behavior and Quality Assurance, a Kyrgyz case. This is a work in progress, and I'll be sharing the story revealed so far. And the significance of this study is that it represents the students' perspective, their voice, which is often ignored in all kind of quality assurance processes. They are reduced to mere surveys, numbers, percentages, and these kind of things, but nobody goes and actually asks what their feelings are. So that's what I'm gonna do. So the background and context of this study is in the context of University of Central Asia, which is referred to UCA henceforth. Location-wise, I would say it's a big university because it's situated and it's working across borders. You can see the extent of its work: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan. But when it comes to academic operations, that is offering undergrad majors and studies, it has only two campuses. One is located in Narin in Kyrgyzstan. The other one is located in Tajikistan in Khorog. And in that perspective, it's a small university because we are hosting only 300 students so far, 150 on each campus in Kyrgyzstan, 150 in Tajikistan. And we hope to open a third campus in Kazakhstan soon. And basically it's a university run by a large philanthropic developmental NGO known as AKDN, Aga Khan Development Network. And the purpose is to bring education to remote mountainous communities, and especially to students who cannot afford international education or world-class education. So that is the significance of the role of its School of Arts and Sciences, which is basically, which hosts these students and offers 4 majors to them, 2 in Kyrgyzstan and 2 in Tajikistan. So this is the context. Right from the beginning of its academic operations, which started in 2016 with the opening of the first campus in Nareen, UCA has been student-centered and student-focused. And the same is reflected in the quality assurance processes in the universities. Students have always been envisioned as one of the major stakeholders in quality assurance by the university, and they are expected to actively involve in quality assurance. This involvement is considered important since these quality assurance processes are focused on services directly affecting students, their academic and campus life, like teaching and learning, and campus services, residential aspects, because these campuses are 100% residential. The students participate in the quality assurance cycle, and their participation takes the form of routine quality assurance surveys. These surveys are administered by three main stakeholders. The first is obviously the dean and his office. And these surveys are mainly related to teaching and learning. Then, because it's a residential campus and there's a student life office also on both campuses, so student life office also administers these surveys. And they also collect data. And the third aspect is also related to student life office. So basically, we got a student association, which is a body of students called UCASA. And their office bearers also collect data and feedback from the students about these services. So this is the form of participation that quality assurance and the students relate to. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that while the university envisions students as partners and equal participants in the quality assurance processes and expect their active engagement, the reality remains that somehow both the number of students willing to participate and actually participating in these processes has declined over the past couple of years. So, for example, last semester, I taught a group of 42 students, but only 6 of them completed my course and instructor evaluation survey, which obviously was a concern for me, like why they chose not to participate in this important measure of my teaching, the feedback from them, and also the feedback on course evaluation. So I cannot take any decisions for the next semester because these 6 students' participation tells me nothing. So this was the kind of concern that I decided to go and explore what's happening, why this kind of behavior is emerging, why students are choosing not to participate in these measures anymore, quality assurance measures anymore. And this is not just the problem with me, this is a university-wide issue. So other faculty members, other colleagues complained that their students are also not completing their surveys. The student life team, they reported that minimum number of very few students are participating, most of them are reluctant. And same happened to UCASA's office bearers. They also couldn't get and ensure broader participation. So with this background, we started this investigation and we decided to use the theoretical framework of theory of planned behavior. Basically, theory of planned behavior was proposed by Isaac Eigen. If I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I tried my best, I don't know, right? And this theory is instrumental, or it helps in knowing the underlying cognitive and affective processes of a behavior. Certain behaviors are not spontaneous, they are planned. There's a decision process behind these behaviors. And this students' participation in these quality assurance measures and cycle is definitely one that sort of behavior. They made certain decisions. Certain things happened in their brain and they decided not to participate anymore. So this theory helps in understanding these processes. And basically this theory says that 3 kind of beliefs guide human behavior and the intention for that behavior. The first are behavioral beliefs. So these kind of beliefs produce favorable or unfavorable attitudes towards the behavior and guide considerations of positive and negative outcomes. The second are normative beliefs, which are like social pressures and subjective norms. So we also engage in a certain kind of behavior because of our environment, the social relations. And the third is control belief. So all these kind of beliefs then go into affecting the performance on the behavior. So why students stopped performing or completing quality assurance tasks? Something is there. And these are known as their performance on these tasks. Participating or not participating is a form of control belief. To sort of put this theory in operation, so you can see here, there is attitude, which are these behavior beliefs, right? That favorable and unfavorable attitude towards a particular behavior, which goes into intentions. There are subjective norms, which comes from the environment. And then there are perceived behavior controls, which affect our performance in a behavior. And these perceived behavioral controls can be internal, they can be external. So this is sort of brief to the theory that we use to understand this problem. Qualitative methodology was adopted. The participants were all of them were undergrad students, and snowballing sampling was used, like asking a student to participate, and if that student agreed, can you recommend or suggest a few other students? And those students, okay, can you recommend somebody else or ask somebody else to participate? So this is how the snowballing sample or the snowballing group of participants was gathered for this study. Data collection, semi-structured interviews. Obviously, the questions for this interview came from the constructs of the theory. Then thematic analysis was done so far, I mean, as I said, it's a study in progress. And the findings, so going towards attitude, what kind of attitude were revealed? So the first thing, these attitudes tried to answer questions like what students think about quality assurance process and how do they interpret it. And the data yielded certain, I would say for me, they were surprise kind of thing. So students thought that quality assurance is just a process of information gathering. And the management uses different kind of sources to gather this information. So they use the surveys from the dean's office, they use the surveys from the student life office, they use students to gather this information. And the purpose of the information gathering is to know the problems on campus. And they thought that the purpose should actually brought some kind of improvement, but actually no improvement is occurring. Things remain the same, despite the fact that they make suggestions, they give their feedback, but still nothing happens. So what do we know here? We know that students have a deficient view of quality assurance processes. Information gathering has certain negative connotations. So they think that they sort of doubt the intentions of the management. And the main doubt is coming from because nothing happens after they have given their feedback, after they have given this information, no change occurs. So this sort of creates a negative attitude in them. Then normative subjective norms which stop them from participating in these ones. So you can see that the attitudes affect subjective norms and subjective norms affect attitude. So it looks like that slowly and gradually, somehow this feeling emerged on campuses that anybody participating in these surveys or these feedback cycles is considered an informant for the management. And this informant, as I said, has a negative connotations. So the students, if even somebody was serious and wanted to participate, so slowly and gradually, the perception evolved that one shouldn't be an informant, and students derided each other for being an informant for the management, and this affected their performance of engagement in this behavior. Then when we go to the third one, that is perceived behavioral controls, what controls their participation. So we discovered two kind of beliefs, one which are internal and the other one which comes from the external elements. So the internal belief, obviously, the belief about the prestige of the student's role. They don't see any prestige attached to their role for participating in quality assurance mechanisms. As I said, the word is informants. They don't want to be informants. So this is a deficit view of their role, and they don't want to engage in this role. So this is something coming from inside. Then the other one is the same, that is nobody goes and reads their feedback. So why should they give feedback? And initially, whereas there was a larger participation, slowly and gradually, this participation started dwindling, going down. Then it's a residential campus. The students and the teachers live on campus. It's a small community. It's a cohort system. So I might be teaching this cohort this semester, then there's a possibility I might be teaching them another course in the next semester also. So they thought if somehow these two teachers know what they said in their feedback, it will anger them and their relations with their teachers will be affected. So that was another internal belief. Now, from the management perspective, external elements, we discovered that the students do not have a very relevant awareness of these whole processes. Somehow the management so far failed to convey to them why these processes are being conducted or why they are carried out. So there's an information gap, there's an awareness gap there. Then lack of coordination. Somehow the university remained engaged and focused on curriculum development and internationalization processes. And in this whole, in all these developments, the quality assurance was remain ignored. And it's a fact that so far we don't have any quality assurance office. So if the dean's office thought, okay, we need some kind of feedback, they came up with an ad hoc measure. The student life thought they also need some kind of feedback on certain aspect. They also came up with an ad hoc one-off measures. And these measures then were repeated next year again. So in the absence of this quality assurance office, there's a lack of coordination. The instruments are not properly developed. For example, one student said that most of the questions in these feedbacks are open-ended. He can't spend time completing all these questions. You need to study and there are so many assignments to do. Then another reason was repetition. For example, the set of open-ended questions sent for my course are sent for, the same set is sent for another course. So for students, it's a task repeating, and so if they're taking 5 courses in a semester, they have to repeat the same thing 5 times. So this is related to the external element of poorly designed instruments of quality assurance and data collection from the students. So this is also related to design and implementation, that all these mechanisms, all these systems, all these cycles are not properly designed and implemented. So what are the conclusions so far? We can conclude that reducing students merely to numbers, percentages, surveys doesn't help. We need to create a process where student is not another survey, but they know what they are doing and what will be the impact of their action, their behavior. They need to see some kind of palpable change coming. And if this change is not possible, then the university management needs to go back and talk to them and tell them the reason. So it's a sort of dialogue. This process can only be successful, and we can call its participatory system only if there's a kind of dialogue, there's a kind of conversation repeatedly and continuously going between the management and the students. And students' voice and perspective, they should feel that it has been heard and it has been taken account of. So without that, I think there will not be much success. So certain interventions were taken, like we revised our, we revised our course and teacher evaluation survey after that. We also are making changes to certain other aspects of quality assurance processes. And all this was helped by this study. So thank you very much. This was the story that I shared with you so far. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Yes.
Thank you, Hamid. Dear audience, do you have any questions? We have several participants. Okay. Actually, I have a few questions. Hamid, can you please talk a bit more about the procedure of the evaluation? Because, like, for example, how it gathered online or offline, when the students assess their teachers before the exams, do you guarantee the anonymity, or because I know that many students are very cautious about the fact that they could be identified and then some bad consequences could happen, and or either offline or online, and they can be, I don't know, afraid of bad evaluation on the exam or something. Like you said, you can continue to teach them in the next semester or also. So a little bit more about the procedure, please.
Yes, we collect everything online and it is collected anonymously. We give them all assurances. For example, when I get my survey back or the feedback back, I don't know who said what. And also we sort of ensure that nobody knows who said what. But somehow, as I said, certain things come out as a result of a small community living in the same place. It's a residential campus, 150 students, 25 teachers living in the same place, meeting in the dining hall, and then certain things like hearsay develop. So somehow this word got out that whatever you write, the teacher will know who has written it. And then it took me quite a while last semester to do away, sort of give them the assurances that nobody knows what you wrote. So the contextual elements play a role. Then the students slowly and gradually, they talk to each other and this gossip develops, right? So if they were living away from the campus, they wouldn't see each other. Probably there were not many gossips. But what I'm trying to, and what we are trying to suggest through these studies, that contextual elements can play a role. So we shouldn't just remain aloof. Okay, we met all the textbook checklists, anonymity, assurances, collecting data, and then just making sure that nobody has access to the people providing data. But then certain dynamics of a residential campus, of a residential environment also need to be controlled. And probably this will be something new to this quality assurance and the students' participation in that. How residential campuses can spoil this kind of process, or how they can, if a university is small. So these are some of the things. So we do these things, but still, number one, we discovered that the process is repeated too often. So first there was a formative surveys in the middle of the semester, and then there was a summative survey at the end of the semester. And students thought, why should they do it again and again, right? And as I said, then it's not just done as one survey for all courses, but each course has a separate. So the element of repetitive action. And we decided, okay, we are not going to do anything in the middle of the semester. Everything will be done at the end of the semester. So this is what we do. So I hope it answers some of the.
Yeah, definitely. Like in HSC, we gather this one per module, like it's 2 or 3 months, and just before the exams. So neither students' assessment is not affected by the grades they got on the exam, and not the examiner is influenced by this information.
What we do here, sorry to cut you, what we do here, we don't release the survey feedback till the grading is complete and it is submitted.
Yeah.
Only then the teachers or the stakeholders get the feedback after that. So yeah.
Yeah, but this tricky things, student evaluation, like there are so many things to discuss. Like one thing I wanted to ask, how do instructors react to this evaluation? Like first of all, like what do procedure imply? What does university do with this data? Like in HSC, they are the highest, the instructors that got the highest rate got this prize, like the best teacher, blah blah blah, and those who got the lowest grade might be even fired, like less than like 2 from out of 5. Like for example, they could not be, like the contract could not be prolonged. So what are the consequences real, and how do teachers react for this, like negative maybe comments, or because yeah, that might be tricky.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, another discrepancy here. Your the process at your place and our place. Yes, unfortunately, it's only for teachers' personal feedback. The administration doesn't take any action on that, and that's what I said. That's how
Yeah,
a negative attitude, a negative behavior developed, which stopped their performance on behavior. But again, there's a context. The context is we are situated in very remote localities. If you go to map, and if somebody is from Kyrgyzstan or Tajikistan, Khorog, which is like the godforsaken corner of Tajikistan, and Naryn, which is another remote town in Kyrgyzstan, the university cannot afford like hiring and firing too frequently. It's difficult to convince people to go to that places, and probably that is the reason they do not want to take any action. But yes, the results are provided to the faculty members, and then they are told to like reflect. In my case, I, like every semester, I adopt certain practices and I give up certain practices after this feedback, and it's very helpful for me as a teacher. It's very helpful. It makes me understand what went in my classes, and like the intention and execution. Sometimes your intentions as a teacher are good, but the execution and the perception of the students can change that. So certain things which I did, and then I get this feedback, oh, this is how students understood them. So then I change those actions that I talk to students and try to build or correct their perception. But obviously, everybody has their own. So some teachers really feel offended and angry that why this thing is said by the students. And then we sort of like in a collegial discussions, we try to make them understand that, look, don't take it like in a bad sense, take it in a good sense. This is something for your development, for your reflection, reflect on it and see how you can change things for yourself and for your students. How to make it a win-win situation. Yeah.
But is there, like, to continue this question, actually, are the instructors ready to hear this kind of information? Are there any discussions about what exactly students can assess? Like, are they able to assess the, I don't know, the content, the like, and so on?
Obviously, there are certain approaches. I mean, if you go into student survey, there's a lot of written on this, a lot of research, and there's no perfect survey so far. So I mean, some generic questions are there, which probably are also in our School of Economics. So students assess courses and instructor from that perspective. So basically, active learning, the course contents help them to develop right kind of questions. To give you an idea, instructor provides feedback in time, assessment was fair, and these kind of things. So these are I would say they are the same kind of instrument, the same kind of instrument which should be in any other university, or which is used universally or globally, right? So there we don't differ. But yes, I mean, we need to then, we get sometimes very strong reactions from the instructor. I did this, but why didn't they say this in the survey? You know, because they didn't perceive it that way. I mean, as in English, they say, the wearer knows where the shoe is pinching. So for us, then the strong argument comes, okay, listen, this is for your professional development, personal development. And management is not taking any action on this because students said something. Yes, if the problem is serious, then obviously the management talks to the teacher, and then there's a sort of mechanism to rectify the situation. And yes, in past, there were a few people fired as well because of the continuous nature of bad feedback on them. But as I said, so far we don't have a proper quality assurance office. So once that office is there, and once these mechanisms and these systems and these cycles are properly and formally entrenched, then probably we'll be able to use them in a better way. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Hamid. Does anybody else have a question? Has questions? I don't know. So thanks, Hamid, again for your presentation and for your information. That was really nice to hear. So Saule, are you ready to present?
Thank you very much. Yes,
yeah.
I'll try to share screen.
Okay. Saule, I'm Finova from the Deficient.
Could you kindly see if you can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm happy to join you today at the International Russian Higher Education Conference. So I represent in my presentation two universities. One is Yotvos Lorent University Faculty of Education Psychology from Budapest, and second is quite a young university from Kazakhstan named Nazarbayev University. So this research is based on my master's dissertation and further work jointly with my master thesis supervisor, Professor Suushash Kerimkulova from Nazarbayev University Graduate School of Education. So today in my research, I will present first some background information on the education in Soviet and post-Soviet period, which further my presentation will be followed by research question and theoretical and conceptual framework, and finally I will present my findings. So first of all, the most important thing to understand about the Soviet education was that in Soviet Union, which constituted about 15 countries, all education was free and funded by government. And as a result of this, we can say that as education was free, it was the quality of education was assessed by government itself and did not depend on anyone else. After the Soviet Union collapsed, we can say that there was a period of drastic underfunding in all post-Soviet countries, including Kazakhstan, and consumerism became an important driver of post-Soviet higher education market. And the quality, it's not the quality of Soviet education which led universities become interested in rankings. It is underfunding which influenced post-Soviet universities involuntarily, reluctantly move to the new system of dual track education in which universities started to accept fee-paying students, and all universities in post-Soviet countries didn't have a model of quality assurance in the market system. That's why rankings became quite influential, and other Western models became quite influential in the post-Soviet context. So the research question of the present study is how global university rankings influence the identity of a university in post-Soviet context. Overall, the study employs neo-institutional perspectives, which looks at organizations as social actors. So it is suggested that accountability standards make universities take part in competition for best reputation. And ranking promote a model, an excellence model, either of a world-class university or an international business school. Thus, rankings can challenge the old post-Soviet identity of university, and university in its turn may successfully adapt its identity, or it may abandon its pursuit, or by resisting the effect of rankings. Rankings can also challenge the identity perception of the university by its members. So the research design is the following: X university, named X for reasons of anonymity, and is a large comprehensive state public university. So it's not Nazarbayev University, because Nazarbayev University is a slightly different type of institution, while this university under study is another public university from Kazakhstan. However, it is one of the universities which receive increased funding in comparison with ordinary universities. It's not autonomous, strongly depends on government. So face-to-face semi-structured interviews were conducted with quality assurance and internationalization members of the university. Some of them were also at the same time worked as faculty members at this university. Each interview lasted from 60 to 90 minutes. So this is the main analytical model which was used in the study, which suggests that university is takes part in interaction in which it has to it receives and sends signals. So certain expectations are set by stakeholders and university rankings and other standards in higher education. And these expectations are being signaled to universities. And also universities themselves may reflect certain image. So it may send certain image, and it may consider how image is perceived by stakeholders. So expectations and perceptions play a big role in the influence on organizational identity as influenced by stakeholders of the rankings. So overall, the main findings is that the development of inspirational global identity of an international research university. So X university has oriented its reputational activities and adopted formal policies to support this aspirational identity. At the same time, policy practice decoupling occurred within X university as response to the isomorphic effect of rankings on the identity of X university. And the findings reveal that university rankings play multiple roles in the field beyond merely the role of intermediary between organization and stakeholders. So as regards to aspirational identity, all the participants said that they hope that X university will become an international research university. So, and all of them have developed this strong understanding of their own university as moving towards the model of international research university, and they connected. That's why the role of rankings and ranking position of X university played an important role in this perception. However, participants also indicated decoupling of policy and practice, like they all knew about the importance of rankings, but they didn't see the influence of rankings on the daily activities of universities, saying that the participation of university in rankings does not really influence in a positive way on activities of teachers. It doesn't make them want to improve the quality of their teaching or research activities. On the opposite, they have connected participation in different ranking systems with extra paperwork. Overall, rankings do create expectations. It is suggested that many faculty members think that a good universities cannot refuse from participation in global rankings. So they somehow believe that this is what is expected of them. And because of that, university members think that rankings can help them, their university, to create a projected image. So not only they want to develop in international research universities, they also want to create an image of an international research university, and rankings is a good tool for doing that. And when they track the successes of their university in rankings, they also feel as if it is truly happening, So any small change in rankings makes faculty members feel positive about their university development and creates a perception that their university is moving towards the model of international research university. As a result of that, we can say that we can say that government is the main stakeholder currently in Kazakhstani higher education context, but unfortunately rankings do not challenge perceptions of faculty administrations about their university. They don't see rankings as a threat, but rather they see it as an opportunity. So on one hand, everyone speaks about the importance of rankings and that they are important for becoming a world-class university. On the other hand, rankings do not reflect the daily realities of university life. And this contradiction does not cause there is this contradiction which was found in the findings, and this is considered by the researchers as the negative influence of rankings. So here is a model of findings based on the theoretical model that I would like to explain. This is one of my last slides. So we can see that X university sees the global models, which was introduced by international rankings, as some kind of ideal university model. So global model presented by rankings influences X university, and it tries to respond to this influence by creating a projected image and send it to its stakeholders, specifically in this case, which is government. And government is also influenced by this global model. So, and rankings and government also expects X university to follow this model. As a result of this, X university uses rankings for not only for one purpose, but for two. First, it is a model of development, and second, it is also the model of assessment. And I think it's not a good quality of rankings that they take part in both standard setting and then standards assessment. Like you use them for two purposes, and I think that this question requires further research. So thank you very much for attention.
Okay, thank you, Saleh. Does anybody have a question to Saleh? Okay, let me ask you a few questions. So there was a really curious part when you mentioned, if I understood correctly, it was the quote from the interview, and your respondent said that we can truly become an international university, something like that. But what exactly do they mean when they say they like this, by this international, truly international university? What does it mean? Like accept like funding from the state, or what exactly do they mean?
They mean a university which is successful in global rankings and which is successful in the parameters which are indicated in the global rankings.
So only formal, like this, meeting these requirements of rating, and formal. Oh, okay, that's really sad, but I can totally relate, because we have pretty much the same situation in Russia. Because if I understood right, so this is this kind of excellence program in Kazakhstan, and based on the position of the ranking in the rankings, state provides additional funding to the university. Is it true?
It's not like that. This model is more typical of Asia, where they have created purposeful excellence programs aimed at increasing the ranking of participating universities. But in Kazakhstan, rankings are used as one of the main indicators in quality assurance.
Okay. And the quality assurance is provided by the state or like independent agencies or something?
Provided by the state, but rankings play a big role in it. So they are like included as together with other indicators.
Okay, and the better they show themselves in this quality assessment, like is it based on funding? The main question is does it lead to getting more money, or is it? I try to find
I wouldn't say so. So there are different purposes of rankings. So one is in Asia, in East Asia and South Asia, like in Taiwan, for example, government has used rankings to motivate researcher, to motivate university faculty members to engage more in research, to publish more in international journals, which can increase the research indicator of the universities in the ranking system. And I would say that my impression, although there may be some people who are more experienced than me, my impression is that in Kazakhstan rankings are used as a quality assurance tool. That is, there is this good model of international research university, and we can use rankings as an assistant tool to move towards this model. So we use rankings as a target, as both a system of assessment and self-assessment. So like a standard and a self-assessment system at the same time.
Yeah, what I'm trying to find out, I guess, it's what are the real bad consequences for the university if it fails in this ranking game or in quality assurance.
I would say currently universities are doing a lot of makeup activities in order to at least try to increase their ranking. So I don't know yet if there will be any punishment or like some negative consequences of not coping with rankings. But I would say that from organizational research perspective, the main negative impact is decoupling. Decoupling is a very dangerous process, which can happen in organizations when they want to pretend following certain standards, but don't change their daily activities. So
yeah,
that's
but this is, yeah, risky. Yeah, but this is your, as a researcher point of view, but
yes.
What does administration, university administration see in this process? And why do they like go into this trace? Or
I would say it's government encouragement for Kazakhstan universities to improve their positions in rankings.
Okay, okay. So the main auditorium is the government. Who university have to impress is the government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay, yeah. Okay. That's quite similar. I guess we have common Soviet heritage, so we cannot really avoid this state influence. So yeah, thanks for the clarification. Are there any other questions? Yeah, in the audience, yeah, please.
Thank you, Sauli, for interesting presentation. And in the cases, something joined us recently. I introduced myself. I'm Svetlana Shenderova, a researcher from Tampere University, Finland. And my area of study are along with post-Soviet area. So I would like to say you some comments and some questions. My first comment is to be, I would like to see post-Soviet research, some research in post-Soviet area, more careful about late Soviet and early post-Soviet period. Because the situation was not, I would say your description of the situation is a bit more direct that the situation was. For example, you told that the university should expand the number of areas of studies to be more comprehensive, to increase the quality. But in reality, because I worked that time, the universities, at least in Russia, they just survived. So that's why they expanded the number of area of study just to enroll more just to enroll more more self-paid students, and it does not mean that their quality increased at the same extent. Regarding your research design, I have a concrete question. How many interviews did you conduct? And what were the positions of your interviewees? And the last question is, did you study the share of contact hours and non-contact hours in teaching workload in relation to ability of people to publish? Because I hope you understand that if you have 18 hours per week as a lecturer, it is not possible to publish at all. Even if the state pushes people to do it. So how many interviews did you study contact hours problem in teaching workload? So these are my questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Svetlana. I want to present, go back to the slide which I used and say that, first of all, I don't consider rankings as a representative of university quality. And I would say that maybe I was speaking very quickly, but my point is that is similar as yours. So that after the Soviet Union collapsed, post-Soviet universities had to participate on rankings, not because they wanted to improve their quality, but because they had to survive. So there was drastic underfunding and universities didn't have money. And that's why they had to increase different numbers of programs which would attract fee-paying students. For example, business management or economics or finance. So I would say that what I said is same as you, and maybe I was speaking a bit quickly, and that's why you a little bit misunderstood what I was talking about. So yeah, so that's one point. So quality assurance in market system was absent as it is. So there was a tradition of Soviet quality assurance system, but it could be hardly used in the post-Soviet system in which market started to play a new role. And then the rankings occupied this empty place, empty sacred place. So that's one point. Second question was regarding the interviews and the position of interviewees. So yes, we interviewed 8 people in one university, and they included a vice president of university and several members of internationalization department of university and several quality assurance specialists. So it was a small pool, but all of these people were responsible for specifically for working with ranking. And as I said, it was based on their master's dissertation research. So, and second, yes, they also acknowledged and said that the number of contact hours in Kazakhstan university is so high that it's really hard for local professors to engage in any research activities, which is slightly different from other universities in other parts of the world. Yeah, so when I say, I would say that it's important to distinguish the researcher's position from the object of researcher's analysis. For example, as a researcher, I study rankings, but I rarely engage I wouldn't say that I approve or support the ranking system. So the fact that I'm curious in them doesn't mean that I like them or I consider them a good example. So for me, rankings is a research object. I study rankings as an object. They interest me. I have noticed that rankings are very influential in today's world, not just in Kazakhstan, but in Asia, in the United States, in Europe. And that's why I got curious in rankings. But it doesn't mean that I approve rankings. It doesn't mean that.
I understand that there are rare numbers of fan of rankings amongst the researchers, but I looked at your conclusions. Maybe you mentioned some problems a bit short than to recognize your attitude. But let me know, please, do you want to continue this series of semi-structured interviews? And why did you concentrate on the rector's office only?
Not the rector's office, but university president, internationalization and quality assurance department. So thank you. I think that your questions are very useful and they help me in improving the quality of my research overall. And I think that they're very insightful and deep. I can see that you're a representative of as an academia, you kind of really understand the struggles of university in relation to rankings. So as regards to continuation of the research, I would say that recently there have been some changes since the period of when my interviews were conducted. There were some changes. For example, one of Kazakhstan universities, not the one which I am studying, but another good Kazakhstan university was included in top 200 place in one of the international rating system. And the university was very proud about it. And I would say that rankings still continue to drive university activities in post-Soviet higher education context. That's why I think that more interviews would really help to increase the quality of this research and bring some new data about the development of post-Soviet universities in higher education.
Thank you. And if you are all participants of this session would like to visit my session tomorrow, where we will consider these issues again, I would be happy to hear your opinion about the EU Russian and Finnish Russian internationalization activities and including influence of rankings on it. Thank you very much, and thank you, Sauli, for good moderation.
Thank you, Svetlana, for invitation. And I want to remind you there are plenty of sessions ahead. So there are 2 days like this and the next one. Please join sessions you're interested in. Thank you for the participation. Thank you for your presentation. And I think that was a very nice session. Thank you. And I hope you will continue to cooperate with the IOA HSC, and hope to see you next year probably. So thank you again. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah, bye. So.